We will need 3 new objects, a trigger, a bomb, and an explosion. For each, we need an appropriate sprite. The bomb is extremely simple. It just sits there and does nothing. To make sure monsters move over it rather than under it, we set the depth to 10. Object instances are drawn in order of depth. The ones with the highest depth are drawn first, so that they will lie behind instances of the smaller depth. By setting the depth of the bomb to 10, the other objects that have a default depth of 0 are drawn on top of it. Some people call this Z order. Okay? What order do you put the things on top of each other when they pass each other and intersect? The trigger is also rather simple. When it collides with the person, it turns all the bombs into explosions. This can be achieved by using the action to change an object in another object. On top of this, we indicate that it should apply to all bombs. Okay. Yeah, let's just create our objects right now that we need in the game. So I'm going to bring up our game for first period. Okay, so this is where we are. We have the all directions monster, the left-right monster, and the up-down monster. We changed our background to something a little lighter. Here's the objects we have so far in the game, and here's our room. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but you can move this tutorial out of the way. Just click Hide. I would also maximize your screen all the way, and then maximize your room so you can see everything. So when you add new objects to a game, it's always the same pattern. You add the sprites first, then you add the objects that use those sprites. So let's go find a bomb sprite. We'll do that one first. And stick with the naming convention you started with. You really need to put that prefix on it, because if you just call it bomb and down below for the object it's called bomb, it gets the two confused, and then you get really strange error messages. So do try to put that prefix on there. Here's all our sprites. Let's see. Boulder. Looking for bombs. You figure it would be there. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's going to be our bomb. And remember to shut off precise collision checking and modify mask. You want to set the bounding box to full image. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, just make sure it's set to full image. Now we have our bomb. Next sprite we're going to need is the detonator. It's one of those plunger types detonators. Detonator. Yeah, I think that's how you spell it. And let's see if we can find it. Yeah, there it is. It's got 2 sprites for it. It's got the off sprite and the on sprite. So we're going to need both of those, I think. Kind of be nice if it was an animation, but they make them separate. I guess you're not going to do them over and over again. Again, shut off precise collision checking. Full image. It's got a name. That's good. And then finally, we need the explosion sprite, I guess. Now what's neat about these explosions is not only does it blow up, but it destroys everything around it as well. Okay. So let's see if we can find it. So here's an explosion sprite. Looks pretty good. Okay. And again, it's animated. That's nice. Shut off precise collision checking, full image. Right. So now we have all the sprites we need. Now we need to make the objects to go along with those sprites. Okay, so here's object 1. I think we did the bomb first, so let's do that. We set the bomb sprite. And again, bombs just sit there until they explode. So they don't require any events or actions. It did say set the depth to 10, so make sure to do that. The depth is right there. And again, you can think of depth as how many feet underground do you want this thing to be. So this would be 10 feet underground. and things are drawn on top of it. Okay, the next one is the... Oh, we didn't create the other detonator. Let's do that. And we'll call this detonator down. Okay. So the detonator object is just like kind of spiders. It's going to have two different sprites to go with it. When it starts, we want it to start with just the regular detonator that's up. And so that's what we're going to put down here. But eventually, once it's triggered, we want to change all the detonators to detonator down. So let's create the detonator object. And we'll use the up detonator here. All right. So now we can add these to our room. But we still need the explosion. So let's make an explosion object. And you can make things by right-clicking on the folder name and just say create object. It'll give you a create, and it'll be relative to the type of thing you're making, or what belongs in that folder. Okay, so let's make that explosion then. So here, I call this plumbing, where you're just making stuff and getting it ready to do stuff, but you're not doing any programming yet. We use the explosion sprite. Okay? So now we have all our objects. We should have that. How's everybody doing? Am I going too fast? Raise your hand if you need me to slow down a bit. Everybody's good? Okay. So the explosion object, we really want to explode just once. The problem with the animation, it'll just go forever, exploding over and over. Let me show you what I mean. If we put one in the room just for fun. So here, assume this is an explosion. Now, typically it would be where the bomb was, but I just want to show you the behavior here. What will happen is the explosion will happen, but it will keep animating over and over again. And what we want is that the explosion happens once and then it destroys itself. But then the question is, well, how do I do that? So here's our explosion just exploding over and over again. Again, we don't want that behavior. We'd like it to destroy itself once it gets done with this animation, right? Okay, so if I go back to the explosion, then there's an event. It's under other because it's kind of hard to categorize, so it doesn't fit in any of these other categories. You say other, and there's one in there called animation end. You want to use that for the explosion. So at the end of the animation, all we want to do is have the explosion destroy itself. Okay? So that's the little garbage can here on main one. Yeah, so we have a lot of work to do here. We'll take a look back at the tutorial in a second. So now we have to define what happens when the person object interacts with the detonator. Okay? So let's do that. Go back to the person. Person's getting pretty busy, but I like putting the thing that's moving. I mean, with a collision, you can do it on either side. You can do it the collision between the detonator and the player or the person, or you could do the person and the player, where you have the person the one you're looking at. So with every collision, you have to decide which side you want to do it on. I always like the thing that's moving, so the one that's actually colliding. I usually like to put the collisions there and not on the thing that just sits there, because it's really not colliding, it's just waiting to get collided with. So let's add a collision event then between the person and the detonator. Okay. Well, one thing we want to happen is we want the detonator to be to look like it's been activated. So what we do is first we go to change sprite. That's on the main one tab. Drag that in there. It's like a little Pac-Man. And the sprite we're going to change to is the down sprite. And what's odd here is if you have more than one detonator, you want to make sure that the detonator, all the detonators in the game get depressed, even though only one did. So you can't just say self. This is the first time we use other, or object, I mean. So you go to object, and what you want to do is all the detonators, we want to change the detonator down. And we'll set the animation speed to 0 because we don't want it to animate. And it won't because it only has one frame anyway, but save the computer some machine cycles. Okay, so we depress the detonator and we change all the sprites to look like they've been all depressed. And then the next thing we need to do is go to all the bombs, and we want to make the bombs into explosions. Okay, so here we're actually doing, instead of a change sprite, we're doing a change object. Okay, that's what this one is, or change instance. Okay, so we go to the objects we want to change. Is not even here, right? We're on the detonator, and we want to change all the bombs to explosions. So this is one of those that where you collide with it, and it doesn't affect the thing you're colliding directly. And again, we want to change all the bombs. So if you put it under object, what that means is all of these type of objects, all these bombs, we want to change into explosions. Okay? And perform events, we want to say yes here because we're going to put some things in the create event. What this means, perform events, that means, do you want to call the create event for the object? And in this case, we do because we want the explosion to destroy everything around it. Okay? So let's check this behavior, see if it's doing what we want. So far, at least. Again, I like to check every once in a while. A lot of people just keep going and going and going, and there might be a problem early on, and you missed it, and now you're 3 steps into it or past it, and then it doesn't work, and you go, okay, which one actually caused the problem? So frequently go back and run the game when you get a little part of it done. Okay, so, I didn't put any bombs in the room. Okay, so we have to modify our test room. Now, while you're creating your game, you might as well make your first room your test room, put everything in it so that you can test the behavior. So I'm going to get rid of the explosion. I'm going to put maybe a detonator over here. Okay, so here's my detonator. And I'm going to put a couple in the room just to test to see if the detonators actually all plunge down when I touch just one of them. And then want to scatter some bombs around the room. So here's a bomb that might blow up the skeleton. Say you want a bomb here to blow up the door. So you want to get through the door. I don't know. And we'll put some bombs in some other strategic places. Okay? So now we have all these bombs in the room. We have our detonators. Let's give this a try now. All right, so that you see that the little skeleton down here is walking over the bomb. So the bomb is evidently on the ground, and the skeleton's walking over it. We have our spider dutifully searching. It looks like mine's not quite right. Got the wrong sprite there. Okay, so coming down, I'm going to hit the detonator. What I want you to watch is the bombs blowing up, but also the plungers all going down at the same time. That's what we want. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, bombs explode, all the plungers in the game are down. Okay? It's probably a good idea. See how I'm behind the detonator? It's probably better to be in front of it. So we want to set our detonators just like the bomb's depth to 10. So let's do that now. So the detonator, I'm going to set the depth to 10 so that it gets drawn first. Okay. Okay. So now comes the hard part. Okay, this is where I need everybody's thinking caps put on their head. What we want to do is blow up everything around the bomb, right? You want to get rid of the walls, the monsters, the diamonds, even the player. I always like putting a bomb right next to bomb right next to one of the detonators so they blow themselves up. It's kind of fun. Then they learn not to do that. But you have to have another detonator somewhere in the game. Okay? So maybe I'll do that in this room. But what we want to do is destroy everything around it. So how many squares do we want to destroy? Well, if we count, we get 8. We don't want to destroy the middle one because, well, that's where the bomb is. So if we destroy the bomb, it doesn't quite work. So when should that happen? And that should happen when the person activates the detonator. So we got more work to do here. So you see that event. They push down the detonator. We changed the bomb into an explosion. And so what we might want to do is in the create event of the explosion, that's where we destroy everything. So I'm going to go to the explosion object. And we're going to add a create event. And in the create event, we're going to destroy everything around the bomb. So we use this little destroy one, it's like a little bunch of dynamite. Destroy at position. So anything that might be at that position gets destroyed. Now we have to do it in relation to wherever the bomb is. So we want to set relative to true. It's the best way to show this. So I'm going to pause the recording here. So I'm going to start in the top left corner of the set of 8 squares that we have to delete. Our first coordinate is -32. And since we're going up from the location of the bomb, we're going to go -32 again. So that's our first coordinate that we want to blow up. So I'm just going to copy and paste this over and over. I need 7 more. So 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, so that's how many we need. We need 8 of them. Yeah, so the first one's correct. Now we have to change the next one. So I'm going from top left, 1 row at a time. So here the x-coordinate would be 0, but y is still -32. This next one, x will be +32, but y is still -32 because we haven't really changed the y-coordinate. So it might be good for you to make your own chart so you can kind of keep an understanding of what we're trying to do here. Now this is row 2. X-coordinate is -32. That's correct because we want to start in the leftmost square in the second row. And then down here, we're going to set y equal to 0. So for everything in this row, y is going to be 0. And x is going to be changing. So here we have 0. Well, we don't want to do the middle one, right? Because that will destroy the explosion, which is not something we want. So we're going to skip that one. And we're going to go to 32, and we'll set y equal to 0. So that row's a little bit weird because you leave out the middle one, so you don't destroy the explosion. Now we run into a problem here. I can't quite remember what the problem is, but we'll fix it when it occurs. Okay, this next one, yeah, negative 32 is the bottom left corner. Y is positive 32 now. Okay, so y is going to be positive 32 all the way across. Here we say 0, and then positive 32 for y. And finally, bottom right corner is 32 for x and 32 for y. So just to review, the coordinates are negative 32, negative 32, 0, negative 32, 32, negative 32, negative 32, and 0. Is that right? Yeah, I guess. Positive 32 and 0. Negative 32 and 32. 0 and positive 32. And then 32 and 32. Okay? So that should complete all the squares around our bomb. Let's give it a try and see what happens. Okay. So here we have our bombs, and what we want to watch for is the bombs all going off and everything around the bomb being destroyed. So here I go. And I look pretty good. One thing you might do in your test room is put a bomb just surrounded by walls. So let's try that. We'll just make a bomb that is surrounded by walls. And that will tell us. All right. So there's our little test bomb over here, and we're going to see if all the squares get destroyed. Did it get destroyed? I think so, yeah. So that looked pretty good. Let's just look back at the tutorial to make sure we did everything. Here they do something different, but this seems like it's pretty unnecessary. So the explosion object just shows the animation. After the animation, it destroys itself. The object must also destroy everything it touches. This requires a little bit of work. First of all, we do not want the explosion to destroy itself, so we move it temporarily out of the way. We didn't do that because we were careful not to destroy the 0, 0 position in our little grid there. So we don't have to move it out of the way. Okay, so then we destroy everything. So we're going to take a little break here, and you can mess around with your bombs and detonators. You might think about adding them to maybe level 4 or room number 4 or 5 and try to create some puzzles where you have to use the bomb strategically to kill a monster. Because the monsters get killed by bombs too. So we're going to take a break, and then I'll come back in about 10 minutes and we can do the next part.